All right, we are live. Gonna do a quick, probably 20, 30 minute streamish. Dude, this is like the way my assignments lined up this semester is just like awful. Like the worst thing to study for, and then like a 20-page paper at the same time. And I just have to fix one more section and then I'm done. But yeah, it's just brutal. It's rough. But yeah, we're gonna keep getting through it. Uh, I don't know. Like I swear I literally just woke up and started studying, started doing things, and now it's like 9 o'clock. And it's like I don't know, my sleep is so messed up right now. But we're gonna talk today about Alan Watts and Eckhart Tolle. Um I just found this interesting video. I really like After School. It's a good channel because it's really easy to react to, and I feel like it's not like I don't know. Sometimes there's like the AI videos that like make it kind of um, choppy and not as exciting. But anyway, we'll get into the video.
That is a way of demonstrating the basic experience which underlies some of the major forms of Oriental philosophy. And actually, this way of demonstrating.
It looks so. I've never really like watched lectures of them. I've only listened to them. It's like weird to put the face to them.
It is taken from a kind of Chinese and Japanese Buddhism called Zen, which I'm going to be talking about quite a bit today, because Zen is one of the best examples of a philosophy, shall we call it, in which this experience is dominant. Zen, of course, is a Japanese word, and it's spelled Z-E-N.
Osho said that Zen is basically a combination of Buddhism and Taoism.
And that is the Japanese way of pronouncing the Chinese word Chan. And this, in turn, is the Chinese way of pronouncing an Indian Sanskrit word, dhyana. And dhyana refers to the kind of experience which has been represented in this circle. Another word for it would be a second Sanskrit term, shunya.
You're gonna put 1.5 minutes too slow.
And the nearest we can translate shunya in English is emptiness or void.
So think about it like this. The only way to pay attention to everything is to calm down your mind. It's like a really good exercise if you're meditating and you're finding yourself struggling. What the hell just happened? That was really stupid. Okay, is everything working? My screen just like flashed. I don't know if anyone else saw that. But am I still alive? Yeah, okay. Oh, I swear today's just one of those days. But basically, when you're meditating, one of the best practices you can do if you're really struggling is try to hear every single sound. So try to start noticing more and more and more and more and more things. And slowly through this process, you empty your mind. Slowly through this process, you gain a level of awareness that's so beyond what you normally have. And this is what he's talking about. This is what he's calling the void.
And so we might say this is an experience of the void. Before trying to explain what this is, and you know the funny thing is it really can't be explained because it has to be felt, because it's a transformation of one's basic feeling, one's basic consciousness of life. But I should mention first that it is characteristic of Eastern philosophy to be based on experience rather than ideas. You see, philosophy in the Western world,
To be based off of experience versus idea. So he's hitting at a very interesting idea here. There is something to be said about when you look at a rose. This is my favorite example. Um, if you look at a rose, you just look at it, you observe it. You know, you see the flowers, you see the way the petals are, you see the thorns, you see every aspect of the rose. But the minute you begin to describe it, you describe the color, you describe the shape, you describe the process and how it blooms. It's no longer a rose, it's something, but it's a different form. And this is what he's talking about. The more we categorize things, the more we classify things, the more it ultimately diminishes its value, diminishes its beauty. And some things should not be categorized that way. Some things should not be broken down this way. Some things should just be experienced. Think about, you know, when you really love someone, is it something you can tap into? Is it something you can explain? Or does the mere act of explaining it already diminish how well you can categorize it?
especially as it's taught in our universities and academies, is mainly a matter of thinking. It's a matter of trying to arrive at certain clear, positive ideas about the nature of man, the nature of the universe, and so on and so forth. And also religion in the West is somewhat similar because religion is largely concerned with belief in certain ideas. In these basic forms of Eastern philosophy, on the other hand, such as Zen, which is a kind of Buddhism, or Taoism, the basic native philosophy of China, or in Vedanta, which is the central form of Indian philosophy, what is basic to them is not ideas, but a way of experiencing, a way of...
So this is really, this really all just comes back to the Platonic idea of forms and the Aristotelian idea of forms. There's an idea in the West that everything that you see is exactly how it is, but we know that's not really the case. Einstein basically explained this through his theory of relativity. Schrodinger's cat perfectly puts this idea out there like what we think we see is never quite what it purely is. And we're taught in the Western world that things are as they are. But there's no such thing in this world as is. There's no such thing as categorizing things because the moment you try to describe something, it's already become something different. Everywhere, all around you, everything's either decaying or being created. And it's like this idea that we can ever classify anything is very, very detrimental when it comes to our ability to live because think about people that like are in a failing relationship. They're continuing to be in the failing relationship because they're thinking about what was. Meanwhile, there's no hope that this relationship's going to get better. There's no chance that either person can forgive each other. But because they're clinging on to what was, because they think it still is what it was in the start, they're making themselves unhappy. And that might be one of the better examples, but this is literally with absolutely everything.
of feeling. And this might be called, as it is here, the void, demonstrated by this circle. Because it is not a void which is just emptiness. This isn't the idea that there are people in the backward worlds of Asia who think that the universe is ultimately nothing at all. It is rather that the void represents complete spiritual freedom. Or you might say, if you don't like the word spiritual, complete psychological freedom.
So think about it. When you have a preconceived notion about someone, when you take what someone was and see them in 10 years and you treat them exactly the same, then you haven't given that person any chance to change your relationship with them. And that's the idea he's talking about. When we define things, when we categorize things, it limits them. When we say that everything that's happened to us is going to continue to happen, then you solidify your destiny as the same life that you've been living. And it's a very weird idea that people will go on clinging to these concepts and not see that there's something more. But again, it's the way we've been taught to think. It's the way we've been, I don't know if the right word's inspired, it's the way that we've been brought up.
And therefore, I want to try, if I can, to communicate to you, to give you some idea of what this experience is. In Japanese, in Zen, it is called satori. I'll write that down. It's an unfamiliar word. S-A-T-O-R-I. And I like the way that that's pronounced in southern Chinese. They pronounce it because it's something that happens to you, suddenly. Now let me try, if I can possibly, to put into some sort of words what this experience is. This experience, which so far as they are concerned, is the objective of human life. To get this is to understand the meaning of human nature and destiny. Only
Look
because
who's
it's the
here.
transformation of consciousness, because it's something you feel rather than something you think, it is for this reason difficult to put into words. But it is as if you saw quite suddenly, and indeed this experience could have
Because it's something you feel instead of something you think. And I want you to start um, framing things more in this way. Because we all think ourselves to unhappiness day after day after day after day. The only real way to have bliss, the only real way to be happy is to forget about the mind, is to live in a world where the mind doesn't control you. Like, I'll tell you what, if you have your mind going at all times of the day, if you're thinking the entire day, you're bound to drive yourself crazy. It's not a good thing. It's not a healthy thing. What's really meant to happen is you're meant to use your brain when you need to. You're meant to conserve your energy. You're meant to sit there and be idle and be able to devote all of your focus and attention on something when it needs to be done. But there's this weird idea that like we always need to stay busy. There's this weird idea that we always need to be doing something. And the truth is it's the furthest thing from that. Like, do you want to do work at 10% of your capacity? That's probably what you get when you work all day long. Or do you want 100% of your capacity for an hour or two, and you probably get the same amount done? And it's like when we start thinking in manners of this way, we start trying to embrace this idea and start trying to calm down the mind and get rid of this urgency. Because urgency is really where all our fear and anxiety comes from. It really where all our unhappiness comes from. The idea that we need to do something or something bad is going to happen is what keeps so many people stuck. What keeps so many people experiencing the same thing day after day after day after day. When have you ever made a good decision stressed out? Whenever you ever made the best decision when you're anxious, when you're fearful, when you're being urgent, when you think that there's something, knocking at your door, when you think that the problem is right in front of you? The answer is no. The answer is that's never happened. The answer is it's impossible to make the best decision if you're worried about making a decision. The answer should just come to you. The answer should just be apparent. And that answer only comes to us when we're calming our mind down and we can listen to the voice inside of us.
happened to you. It can come without warning to anybody, and so what I'm going to be saying may strike a familiar ring in some ears. But it is as if quite suddenly you became totally convinced that the way everything is in this universe and at this moment is absolutely right. And that's almost putting it too weakly.
Everything is absolutely right. This is a very, very important idea. And this is almost like the idea of amor fati. Love- This is one of my favorite ideas from Nietzsche. And it basically states that no matter what happens to you, good, bad, or indifferent, it's meant to challenge you. It's meant to push you. It's meant to make you all that you can become. And thus, any challenge should be embraced. Any setback should be embraced because it just means that there's going to be that much stronger of an uptick.
I'm not trying to talk about a sort of Pollyanna feeling where we say, well, this is the best of all possible worlds, and everything, however evil and however wrong, is going to work out all right in the end because it's a means to an end in some master design. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it is suddenly feeling that everything is right the way it is now, however appalling, however terrible. And you know it beyond a shadow.
So I think I was talking about this yesterday. If you can't be happy with your life right now, you'll never be able to be happy. It's really what I mean by this is you can always point to everything bad, but you can also point to everything good. But far too many people never do the, the latter. Far too many people never ask themselves, what have I been blessed with? What prospects do I have on the horizon? What are things actively working for me right now? And the truth is, we all have a million things that we can be thankful for. We all have a million things that have gone right for us. And it's only upon a recognition of this that we're allowed to sit in the moment. We're allowed to sit there and be extremely happy, be extremely present, be extremely joyous. Like, when was the last time you were able to sit down and just calm everything down? When was the last time you were able to meditate and just get away from the world for a few minutes? Because the truth is, like, when we're focused and fixated on the things around us, then we forget about the one thing that really matters, which is ourselves, which is the way we approach our problems, which is the way we handle our problems, which is the way that we adapt ourselves to live our lives in the way that we want to most.
Of doubt. There are two other aspects to this experience as well. And although you feel them all together, we have to talk about them separately. While the first aspect is feeling that everything just as it is so right that you could say of it, this is why I'm alive. This is what life's all about. The second is that everything you see and feel seems to come to life in an extraordinary way. You feel the world as you've seen it before was seen almost in a dream. But it is as if just the ordinary things that were confronting you suddenly went, yeah, and came alive. And the third aspect of it is.
So there's an idea from Schopenhauer. Um, Schopenhauer said that all compassion derives from the understanding that you are everything, that this art thou, I think it was. And basically, what he's saying is when you can see yourself in the smallest of things, then you can feel yourself in all everything. And it's such a weird experience to recognize that the things that make up everything else, and the things that make you up will eventually be something else, and they were once something else, and you're part of this grander journey, you're part of this grander force. And it's almost like a cathartic experience when you see that you're a bigger picture of it all.
That you no longer feel yourself and what you are experiencing to be separated. Although you don't lose the feeling of the outline of your skin, you don't forget that I, or Joe Dokes, is a possible name by which you can refer to yourself. Nevertheless, it suddenly seems to you that your skin is no longer what divides you from the world, it's what joins you to it. What you see outside you is also you. Now, we ordinarily restrict the idea of ego, of I-ness, or of you-ness to some sort of.
So what I like to define ego is as what society tells you you are. Is who society tells you you are. Is characteristics, the traits, the attributes, the accolades that make you who you are. I really think this is the wrong approach because, as we were saying earlier, like you can't ever categorize things. When you begin to categorize things, you begin to limit them. And I think on a daily basis, people limit themselves by the categories they place themselves into. Oh, I'm this, I'm that, I am this political affiliation, I'm this religion. I'm like when you do any of these things, when you use any of these words, you stop thinking, you stop evaluating. You make your life a world of ideas and not a world of experiences. There's so much more to what we can describe, yet we like to perceive things for what we already think they are.
Psychological entity or process inside us which is in control of things. And we identify ourselves with a sort of controlling center. But in this experience, it is as if that center were suddenly enlarged to include the whole universe. You almost feel as if you were God, except that in Eastern thought, one doesn't think of God as a kind of omnipotent person. I mean, there are lots of people in our asylums who say, well, I'm God. I always like the story of the woman who insisted that she was God And to humor her, someone said, well, if you're God, will you please explain how you managed to create the universe in 6 days? She said, I never talk shop.
I don't know. I think maybe she was. That's
It isn't feeling God in that sense, as if you
that's
could do anything, but it is feeling that you and this whole world are one. And that in this experience of oneness and the sudden coming alive of everything, and the profound rightness, that's the only word I can use, the profound rightness of each moment, of this moment, however far it may seem to be short of one's ideals of perfection. This is it. And you say, having seen this, I can die content. This is what it was all about.
pretty interesting. So what he was basically saying was when you get beyond language, when you get beyond explanation, when you get beyond any sort of reason, there's an understanding and a feeling that moves us to such a degree. But for most people, they've never sat there and sat there and felt, thought there and calmed down their mind to recognize this idea. And it's really exercising this perspective, exercising this awareness that changes the way that we perceive this world and perceive ourselves in relation to the world.
Underneath it all, there's this vast realm of conscious presence. There is a presence
The
there,
worst music I've
without
ever
which
heard.
you wouldn't
I don't
be
know
able
if you
to
guys can hear
perceive
that, but
anything, you wouldn't be able to think anything. It's a little bit like, I compare it sometimes to, before you live on the surface of the ocean, you're a little ripple on the surface of the ocean. And this ripple only knows itself as a ripple. And it looks at other ripples and sometimes feels threatened by other ripples or wants to use other ripples to enhance its own sense of self. And it's always fearful. It always compares itself to other ripples. Very unpleasant and frustrating way to live. It hasn't realized the depths of its being because the ripple is only a temporary expression of the vastness of the ocean.
hasn't realized its whole being because it's only temporary. If that isn't a profound statement, I don't know. I think the greatest thing that you can start understanding about these ideas is the more you read poetry, the more that makes sense. That's really the secret to these. I wouldn't even call these mystery teaching. This is like Eastern thought. It's very similar to the Western esoteric doctrines. It's all poetic. It's all through feeling. It's all through an understanding that's beyond just the words.
But it doesn't know that. So if the ripple for a moment comes to us, if the continuous thought, in this analogy, the ripple, of course, is the human being, and the ripple, when the ripple stops thinking for a moment, and this is the key, for a moment, you come to a cessation of the stream of thinking. And what's left when you're not thinking about?
So I don't know if people have done this, but this is the best example I have for this idea. When you are working on a project and for whatever reason you can't seem to do it, for whatever reason it's not coming together, and you take a break for maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you go back to it and you're like, oh, this is all I had to do. It's that idea. It's the understanding that we gain from calming our mind down, from slowing down our mind. Sometimes the way we approach problems is not going to find the solution, and we need to go beyond ourselves to find it. And one of the greatest things you can do for yourself is start going on walks, start finding ways day after day to, calm down your mind, to get yourself away from things, to get yourself away from the internet, get yourself away from work and the problems of this world and really just be with yourself. And I know this is like a weird idea. I know this is something that like most people are really opposed to nowadays because you see how much people like to distract themselves. But Your mind is not supposed to be on at all times of the day. Your mind is not supposed to be thinking. Your mind is supposed to be resting and recharging and then being able to be used again when it's needed. Your mind's a tool. It's not something that we should rely on. It's not a crutch.
Your history, your personal history, or the future. You're just becoming aware of this moment, yourself, this moment. But what is that self? It's no longer the historical self. You can't say very much about it. There is an underlying sense of presence, of alive, conscious presence. It's still, it's alive. The awakening can begin with...
Think of presence or awareness. This idea is thrown around a lot, but it's not really explained. Think of presence or awareness as just your ability to be, your ability to notice things that you don't normally notice. So a good exercise to find presence, to be able to be more present, is to be in a familiar surrounding and start noticing things that you haven't noticed before. So like look around at your room. Don't have any distractions and look for chips in the paint. Look for things that are out of place. Look for things that you never really noticed are off, but then you'll start to see that, maybe a board is slanted, maybe something isn't quite right. Maybe there's a weird piece of architecture in your room that you didn't even notice, and this is your room. Same thing if you're going on a walk, like walk around a place that you know very well and start to notice things that you haven't seen before. Start to look at the trees, start to look at the animals, start to look at the architecture. It's very weird that we don't do these practices that have like such a peaceful, calming effect, and we wonder why we're so unhappy. We wonder why there's so many issues when it comes to mental health. And it's like people are actively driving themselves to be neurotic through this nonstop thinking, through this nonstop fixating on the problems and fixating on money and fixating on all these things that all they do is ruin our lives in real time. And it's like if you just took a little bit of time to calm yourself down, if you just took a little bit of time each and every day to get beyond yourself, to get beyond the problems that you're struggling with right now, you'll see that in the grand scheme of things, they're not so large. And in the grand scheme of things, like if you just give your best effort, that's all you can do. It's very weird to take everything so serious. It's very weird that we make ourselves all big and strong. Oh, I have this role. I'm a really good fighter. I'm this, I'm that. It's like, all right, man, like anything you do is eventually going to be washed away. The only thing that remains is your experience and how you lived your life. The money you make, the title you had, none of it means anything. People will forget Alexander the Great. People will forget Julius Caesar. Nobody, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, is going to give a fuck about anything you did. And I want you to live your life in this way because this gives you the ultimate freedom. This allows you to do whatever you want. This doesn't tell you that you have to go down a certain path. You don't have to become anything if you don't want to be. And this is the most inspiring idea because it means you can take your own path. You're not bound to anything. You're not forced to do anything. Don't take yourself so seriously. It doesn't really matter in the end. What's up, Zachariah?
realizing that you are not the thoughts that go through your mind. That's the beginning. Now, what has arisen at that moment? Awareness. Suddenly, you realize that there is a dimension of consciousness in you that's not thinking, but just conscious. And that is your essence identity. To be rooted in that, it's ultimately very simple. I don't know why they don't teach that at school. I mean, the most important life lesson is the transcendent dimension of life.
They don't teach you that in school because school is not to make you anything except a good employee, anything except a good worker. And to have a good employee, to have a good worker, is to destroy the individual, is to destroy the curiosity, destroy the creativity. Yeah, this is Eckhart Tolle.
Of who you are, to find all the ancient teachings using different terms and different words. They all point to this possibility
It's
of
literally all the
realizing
same.
the transcendent dimension of who you are.
The more you read of this stuff,
Whether
the more
the
you're
Buddha
like,
calls
wow.
it, the Buddha actually calls it, the translation is shunyata, emptiness, but the better translation would be spaciousness. That's the essence of who you are, shunyata, spaciousness. Uh, Jesus talks about the kingdom of heaven, which in my translation is not, I translated kingdom, I translated as dimension, and heaven, which is the vast heaven. When you look up at the sky, that's the closest thing you can get to spaciousness in the sense perceived world. The closest thing you can get to spaciousness is to look at the vastness of the sky or heaven. In many languages, heaven and sky is the same word. So you look.
So now he's just getting into semantics, but what he's saying is very important. It's when you know who you are, you know what you want. When you know what you want, you're not driven by false ideals. Think about what's pushed today. Think about the consumerist mindset. Think about how everyone is telling you that if you don't have this car, if you don't have this house, if you don't have X amount of followers or X amount of dollars or some big fancy title, like you're nothing. And yet, we've never been so empty as a society. We've never lacked so much meaning. People have never felt so little purpose. It's almost like conforming to this is sealing your destiny that you're going to be unhappy, that you're going to stress the wrong things, that you're going to live and you're going to be on your deathbed and understand finally that it was all for nothing. And I think once you recognize this idea and just stop like being so serious, be able to laugh at yourself, then I think a lot of this attitude changes.
Look at the vastness of the sky, which is vast spaciousness. So the kingdom of heaven is the dimension of spaciousness. It's a dimension of consciousness. This is why then they asked Jesus, where is the kingdom of heaven? When is it going to come? And he said, the kingdom of heaven cannot come with science to be perceived. You can never say it's over here or it's over there, because the kingdom of heaven is within you. In fact, he was saying it is the essence of who you are. Consciousness is, but it's not only the essence of who you are, it's the essence of the universe itself, because you are just a microcosm of the universe. So when you realize the essence of who you are, the universe is realizing its own essence through you, this little thing, through you.
Searched for God and found only myself. I searched for myself and found only God. If that isn't a great quote, I don't know what is. With that, uh, I'm gonna end the stream now. I'm absolutely exhausted. I'm sorry, guys. I don't have any more energy. Um, but yeah, thank you guys if you were here. It's a very fun stream, very quick stream. I'm gonna do a much longer stream tomorrow. Do not worry. I actually have free time tomorrow, so um, yeah, looking forward to it already. Um, love you guys so much. Thank you guys. Peace out. I'll catch you in the next one. Ah.